What is up, guys, and welcome to another video. We're taking a break from the vlogs and we're bringing back some good old-fashioned OG fitness content. Today I'm going to take you through a program and talk a little bit more about a split which is guaranteed to get you stronger, bigger, and push past some unnecessary frustrating plateaus which no doubt everybody experiences from time to time. So this split, 5x5 split, you've no doubt heard about before. I honestly haven't really ever tried it because my goal has never been to be as strong as I possibly can be. I've always been about size, proportions, aesthetics. Now the way this is structured is you're doing 5 sets of a particular exercise, ideally a fucking good compound exercise for 5 repetitions. And you'll do 3 exercises for each session. In an ideal scenario, you have a rest day after every session to ensure that you can maximize recovery and perform at your very best. So it's not really that overwhelming, the workouts itself. It's literally just 3 exercises. But of course, the rest period that you're going to be taking, setting up, warming up and everything, the session itself will probably end up taking you about an hour. So the session which I'm doing today is workout C from my app. Now this one, we're doing a front squat, we're doing a incline barbell bench press, and we're doing a T-bar row. So I'm going to warm myself up. I'm using straps because this is my preferred way of holding the bar. And of course, whenever you're doing a front squat, if you're using the ramp to put your heels at an incline, it's going to allow you to keep an upright spine and it'll just make the whole movement a lot more comfortable. There are some people who can do a front squat with their feet flat, but there's absolutely no way I can do that. If I try to do front squat with my feet flat, I'll be toppling over. La-da-dee. Front squat, realistically, is probably one of the most challenging and unpleasant exercises. I very rarely see anybody doing a front squat. And if I do, the person doing it is usually a savage. They're usually a fucking tank. So everybody should be doing a front squat from time to time. I'm also doing back squats, but the back squat is on another day. So you're basically going to get extremely good at squatting when doing this split. Let's start with the working set. Generally, pretty fast tempo. We're not doing super slow negatives. Obviously you need to have it under control, but not super slow. Exploding up, using power. And the good thing is, whenever you're doing 5 reps, you don't really get the fatigue which I usually get whenever I'm going for 8 to 10 reps, particularly on this particular exercise. When I go past 6, 7 reps, my grip starts to get a bit weird, my back starts leaning forward. So it's good, it feels more safe in a sense. I'm not pushing to absolute failure on that 5th rep. I've probably got 1 or 2 reps in reserve, and that's absolutely fine. So in between these sets, you need to rest a little bit longer than you would do usually, particularly in comparison to the other training sessions that you're doing. So of course, we want to be training for strength. So rest at least 3 minutes, maybe 4, depending upon what your heart rate is saying and whether you're ready to go in and match the previous set's intensity. Okay, so you should be able to gauge it, but if you need to follow a tracker, then make sure you do that. Ooh. A couple of things to keep in mind when you're doing this split. Best not to be done when you're in a calorie deficit. If you're ever doing any kind of strength training and you want to push past plateaus, doing it in a calorie deficit is usually just not going to happen. So it's best to do something like this when you're at maintenance or even doing a gradual bulk. Secondly, don't do these sessions fasted. I would recommend at least getting one meal in beforehand, 1 to 2 hours before training. Arguably, it's maybe even better to get 2 meals in beforehand if you train later on in the day, but obviously it's ultimately down to when it is that you're going to be training. Whoa, struggled a bit on that last rep. It's a good job we only have one more set to go. It's been good being able to stay consistent with this weight. Ooh. Ooh. So the good thing about this split is, like, with a lot of splits, whenever you have a full day of legs, you're like, oh my God, you got to psych yourself up for the session of destroying your lower body. But with this split, it's pretty much one exercise for your lower body, then we'll move on to upper body. So today, we've done the front squats, now we'll do the incline press. On the other 2 days, we've got back squats, and then we have deadlifts. So deadlifts, you can argue it's a full body movement, but it's a lot of posterior chain as well. But that's why you've got to have the rest days in between these sessions, because they're very, very demanding movements. Put a lot of strain on your core, your lower back. So imagine trying to do these sessions back to back, doing your front squats, followed by deadlifts next day, followed by back squats the following day. How good do you think you're going to be at executing those back squats? Not very well. So you need that recovery. Done. Right then, onto incline press. We're doing 2 pressing movements per week in the split. We've got flat barbell press and incline barbell press. I prefer this, to be honest, but you know, I really should be doing this 5x5 for my pressing, because I've plateaued and stayed the same for, I reckon, the past 10 years. Like, I've really not got any stronger on my bench, and to be honest, I don't care, because I have a massive chest. That's all I really care about. However, it is sometimes a little bit demoralizing whenever you train with people like Larry Wheels and they're lifting 5 plates and you're struggling to do 3 plates. So hopefully after doing this for a couple of weeks, I'll have something to show. Again, we have to go through the process of warming up because our chest is not warm yet. Whoa! Bit of extra resistance at the bottom of the rep, eh? Boob sweat. Guys, this is actually a large. Like, this is legitimately a large, but I think they did me dirty. I should have clearly gone for the extra large. Don't really know what to select. And I imagine a lot of you guys who are starting off with this split, that first week, it's more of a feeler. You're trying to figure out what weight you're comfortable with doing for 5 sets of 5 reps. So don't overshoot it. It's probably better to undershoot it in week 1. And then that way, week 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can continuously overload with heavier weight. Let's go. I think for this, ideally, you would have a spotter, or if you're training by yourself, do it in a cage. So when you do it in a cage, you've got the barriers that are there to kind of catch you if you do struggle. So I would definitely do this one with more caution. You know, with the front squat, if you fail, you can just let go of it. Same with the back squat, just let go of it. This one is a little bit more dangerous, so try not to push to failure. Ooh. Yes. Felt better that one, sped it up a little bit. I would definitely say with this split, you at the very least need to have mastered the fundamentals of executing exercises. Like this, for beginners, not a very good split. Risk of injury is no doubt going to be higher than doing other splits. So do other splits if you're a beginner. Intermediate to advanced lifters, this is going to be right for you. But what I would say as well, because we're not really doing many exercises, the traditional 5x5 split, if you're only doing 3 exercises per session, some of these splits you would repeat one session twice and do another session the other day. But I wanted to add a little bit of variety, so the 3 sessions are different. Okay, so there's realistically 9 exercises which we're going to master in this split, and we're doing 5 sets each session. So at the end of this split, you should be pretty damn good at executing these exercises. There's a lot of practice, a lot of repetitions. Yes. The last rep is always scary. It's always scary. Oh, come on. Yes. Oh. Whoa, the last set. Might need a spot. Makes a big difference when you dig your feet into the ground. There's definitely a few little tweaks you need to make when you're pressing for strength, which I need to learn, apparently. Is my spotter ready? I should be all right, but this last rep's going to be sketchy as poo. Right. Come on. Yes. He did it. That was the most perfect weight I could have picked for myself. The goal next week would be to do 120. Be happy with that. T-bar row next. So I'm just waiting for the T-bar row to be free. If you do find that your piece of equipment is not available, then swapping around the order isn't the end of the world. What I would say about this style of training, you gotta be careful when you do it for an extended period of time. Like, I generally don't like to train like this because the risk of injury is a bit higher and there's a lot more stress placed upon the joints. So I would probably do a split like this maybe 5 weeks. I mean, that's how long the split is in the program, in the first app. If you're seeing progress and you're feeling good, there's no reason why you can't do it for another 5 weeks. But after that, I would leave it out for a bit and then go back to more hypertrophy focused training sessions, because I can just imagine when it does get to that point where I'm in the 4th week and the weight is, you know, the heaviest it's been. It only takes like a little imperfection in exercise execution or not warming up properly to niggle something, as I apparently like to say. So do be careful when you are training like this. So again, a few quick warm-ups just to get the back nice and loose. We have got 2 big rowing movements on this split, the T-bar row and the barbell bent over row. I would always favor this one because you've got the chest support. But the bent over row with the barbell, again, you engage a lot of your core. So that's an added advantage, but a slight disadvantage because it means you have to have a strong core and you have to have an ability to maintain a neutral spine throughout the entire set when you're lifting heavy weight. Since you're only doing 5 reps, it shouldn't really be too much of a problem. Since on this one we're going to be doing pronated grip, you could argue it might make more sense to do an underhand row when it comes to doing the barbell row. Oh, good. Again, for me, this is where I worry a little bit because I always get this, I don't know what it is, it's like a tweak in the nerve here on the left trap, lower left trap, which comes to haunt me every so often. And usually when I do heavy rows, I do something and it brings it back, so I'm hoping that does not happen again. That weight felt good. 85 bomber clot kilograms. Tasty. Another potential downside of this split is the repetition of going through the same planes of movement. So you're not really getting that variety in between. And there's a lack of isolation exercises. In fact, there's no isolation exercises. So if you were to do this over a long period of time, you would start to see some underdevelopment in certain muscle groups. So for example, I would argue your hamstrings would probably be neglected a little bit because there's no leg curling whatsoever. You're only getting a bit of engagement from the deadlifts and the squats, but squats aren't really a hamstring dominant exercise. And then you could also argue as well, biceps, triceps aren't really getting direct work along with your mid-delt. There's no lateral raises or anything like that. Your core is getting worked, the chest is getting worked, the quads, the back, but everything in between isn't really getting that work done that is needed for stability in that strength, but also aesthetics as well. So what I've done is, this is technically a 3-day split, but I've also added a 4-day split. And on the 4th day, it's just a pure isolation day where you work on those muscle groups that are neglected. So for people like me who are concerned with, yeah, I want to get stronger, but I also want to look good as well, on that 4th day, I would do that isolation work. But if the priority, the absolute priority was to focus on strength, then leave that out, because that's only going to interfere with your rate of recovery. Okay? So it's best, as I said before, 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off. You do that 3-day split, and you just rotate. Last set of the session. Let's make it a good set. By the way, when I do a T-bar row, I just feel way more comfortable doing this. I feel like I'm a lot more glued to the ground. It takes a bit of the pressure off my chest. If I was to do it like, if I do it like this, I can't breathe properly. I somehow managed to lose count. I don't know if that was 4 or 5. Let's say it was 5. Anyway, that is the session done. As I said before, this should be the absolute priority. Don't be fannying around outside of the gym. doing more sport, going for runs, doing anything that's going to stress you out. If you're focused about fat loss, probably isn't the best split to be following. If you are going to do any cardio, low intensity, steady state, walking, keeping the heart rate low. Don't interfere with recovery. You need to be absolutely primed to perform when you're doing these sessions. So if you want to give it a try, head over to thirstapp.com, get yourself involved with the 5x5 split. And if you want to take it a step further, I'm also taking on people for the VIP coaching experience, which is also now available, where you get access to me, weekly calls, and a whole load of exclusive content, which is not available for the general public. So first, I don't even know what the fucking website is. I'll put it on the screen. See ya.